Hello everybody to another webinar, and today I will show you the different modeling techniques and the process I would use or suggest to create an eyewear frame like this one. As a quick overview, we will start with a file where we just have the basic sketches, and I will in addition also, once we're done with building most of the frame, show you how we could insert an assembly. This is like a hinge system, position it, and then make it work inside our, come on, load it. This is a pretty dense design, our eyewear frame. Okay. So before I continue, let's, as a tip, do this. So when you want to model something, I would always go ahead. Oops, my fault, that was on the wrong iPad. Okay, let's go to here. I would always do sketches. These sketches are actually did inside a program called Concept, which allows me to sketch, including using dimensions. So it's like CAD and Photoshop in one. And I created these drawings in two-dimensional space, basically, as you can see, all nicely lined up. And then I imported these images and scaled them correctly. So for those who never imported such an image, let me show you one time how this process works and why, for example, this dimension line is very, very useful. First, we want to set everything here to, let's go millimeters. That's very good. Okay. Then let's add an image. And I will use the top one. Oh, I'm offline. None. 1 second, there it is. Okay, so there's the image now. Two things to continue. You see this line for the length, and I also have this yellow line that helps me to understand really where the center of that image is. So before I continue now, I need to figure out, well, how or what is 70 millimeters now inside my shaper model. Could draw somewhere simply a line to 70 millimeters. Oh, this is very, very tiny. Okay, so this means I should scale this image first down a little bit. There and there. Okay, further upper right corner, you can see the grid is actually 1000 millimeters. I was first in meters and then I imported this into meters. So now we had 50 millimeters. So let's say, so it's still too big, as you can see. So we do a little bit more scaling. There, very good. So, and there we now have a line 70 millimeters. This line I do not want to rotate, so I will give this a horizontal constraint. And this line dimension I don't want to change, so I will lock it. And I could bring this line down to there. Then I will move the image and line it up. You see I'm dragging the 3D widget center point right to there, and then I just try to line up everything plus minus there. Very good. So I have now the left side aligned, and now I can scale this image till I see the right side line up. And somewhat like there. Now this is a sketch. We can, when we zoom in, the lines get really thick, so it is not necessarily advisable to try to work to a fraction of a millimeter. These sketches are more suggestive for us, because in the actual precise work we will do via the sketches in Shaper. Now we can move this line down, bring this one to here, there, and you see either I use the y-axis if I want to, or I could also orient it this way and then use the x-axis as the center line. I could move this a little bit back. Very good. And now I would bring another image, however, for example, on the right side and then the other side. So I could bring in then all the individual views. Each image I will scale. So I end up kind of like with a 3D file this way. Before I continue, see this image I do not have in the front where maybe it should be. I moved it further back so it will not be in my way once I go into the left view and want to start sketching. But when I go into the left view I can still see it. And the side view I have rightly centered. I don't need to have it left and right, because also here when we go to, let's say, the back view, I can see it. Okay, good. Now let's start with the easiest part, and that is actually creating the trace for that front view. So my design, that is actually the left side. Very good. And we can go to sketch and let's turn on snapping. That's good. And I will use the fit spline point. In this tutorial I will also show you the differences, how the fit and the control point curve have their advantage and also disadvantage. This top arc of the frame is very easy. It's kind of like one point, so I start drawing, press, 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 and release. And when I zoom in a little bit more, nicely you see that the grid refines. And now I would have to do the same on the left side, but I will do first a line down here, right on the grid, perfectly lined up with the z-axis. This line I will lock. This is actually my mirror line. And what I will do now is I will select this point and this point with the pencil, then tap on symmetry on the right side, and the software asks me to select an axis. That's this line. Let's do the same again. There. Very good. And now I can zoom in again. This point moved, not a big deal. I just reposition this as needed. Tap somewhere else. Then I select this point. The reason why I tapped somewhere else, on the screen you saw it deselected the point. If I select this point and then go to here and select this point, you will see I have 2 points selected. So be careful about this. Very nice. So we can then select this point and reposition this, and you see because of the symmetry I only have to focus on one side. I don't really have to be concerned with the other side because it always will be mirrored perfectly. Let's move this up a tick. Very good. We can draw a line down. The same here. And this line I want to be vertical. Same here. And this endpoint and this endpoint I would like to be symmetrical. Very good. Okay. So how do I now create the lower curve? First, this is actually a symmetrical object, while on here I made this with one curve. I don't have to do one curve at the bottom. I can do two curves. And this is now a situation where I will switch into the CV curve, so the control curve. But before I continue, I want to show you why. So with the fit point curve, the beauty is that we always get very nice and smooth transitions. But the downside is, you see when I move this point, how much of the curve on the left side deforms. And that's not necessarily something I want in this case. I want to position these points exactly where I need them and stay there and don't change the rest of the curve. So while it is at the beginning tempting to use this curve, and for example right there, so I'm drawing a line, there I need to move the curve up, so then I would need to add another point. But then the left and right of the curve will change again, as you saw. So in this case, this is not an ideal curve type. So we will switch to the control version. I will start again from the left side. Click, click, and the rule kind of is for a corner I need 2 points. And then if I want between two corners arc or bend, I need another point. So click, corner, corner. This bends, click, corner, corner. Oh, I released the mouse button. Let me redo this. So symmetry, arc, side, corner, corner, center, corner, corner, center, and then here's my corner. Very good. Now I can select these points. And you see when I move this only between here and here to there, something adjusts, but after this point to there, nothing of the curve really changes. So that is a good comparison between these two curves. But to get the shape I need, I also have to add more control points. And that's the downside of this type of a curve. But on the other side, with more points, I have the control I need. And you saw on the first curve I created, I only needed 5 points and I had exactly what I want. And here for the lower part, I need more points, but then I get actually also what I need. Maybe we can move this up a little bit to there and there. Very good. In regards to corner points, you see the more I bring points together, by the way, the more I'm tightening actually a corner too. So it's another cool creative element of the CV, the control point curve. Maybe this one goes over, take. Okay, good. That looks very good. Now, how do we make sure that this curve, when we mirror it, will be perfectly symmetrical? And you see that this point and this point, they are on a horizontal line. Here I draw a line in between. There. That is really important. You will see in a second why. I will make a copy of this curve and mirror it over to the left side. So we go back, go to transform, go to mirror, select this part of our sketch, select next, and then we select the line. So we don't even need a plane or something. We're in 2D view. We just select an axis. We upper left corner, copy is turned on. That is what we need. Click done. Very good. So when we turn on these two sketches, you can also see that they are 180 degree, so they are tangent to each other. So, perfect. I will undo this for a second. If this point goes up and this point goes up, which means to each other this line and this line is not tangent, you will see how this pinches. And that's essentially all you need to make sure. Also that the distance is equal. You can also specify distances just between control points. But then we're good. Okay, so let's take a look at the opening for the frames. So what's the best curve here to select? Again, I gave both curves a test, but I found that the CV curve simply is better. Similar case, more points, but then I have more control. But before I continue, I want to go offset and click this one and say single. That's what we want. And I will make an offset here. And I will do the same with this one. The main reason why I did this, you can see how this is different than my sketch. So the sketch is good, but it's only a reference. It's not a perfect blueprint to execute. I tried to sketch the material thickness as even as possible. Well, we can see right there I kind of failed. That's okay. It's only a sketch. So we will recreate the opening from scratch, but we will use these two curves which we created as a guide. Okay, so control point is selected. Very good. And again, for each corner we need 2 points, and where it arcs we need an additional point. So we'll start here, corner, corner, center, corner, corner, center, corner, corner, center, corner, corner, center, and then we bring it to the last point and then it closes. Very good. Now I have to be a little bit careful about how I move these points around. So I don't by accident lock them onto the spline. So this will take a moment to adjust. There actually I snapped it to the line, and then there's a small constraint that appeared. So you left to the lock. That means this point is now actually locked onto that curve. And that's not what I want. So I will just click on it. Now I can freely move this point again. So in case this happens when you try this out, that's the reason for it. There, and this one, this, we bring over to there. Okay, we're getting close. Here, let it snap onto it, it's fine. There I need to bring this back, and now it's a little bit of a guesswork trying to identify where do I need to put these points so I get kind of like the curvature I'm looking for. This all looks good. So up here this is too high. Let's bring this down. There, this lines up now with that the offset curve. Bring this up a little bit, maybe a little bit lower. This maybe, whoops. There, had this glued already on the curve. There, it happened again, not a big deal. So this is so far pretty good. This curve now I will delete. and there. Let's bring this one up, bring this one over. There we're very close to, and then we can delete this one, and maybe this I push down a little bit, and there. Okay, very good. So not too bad. So this we can mirror over. We only work on 50%, and then this way we really know our design is symmetrical. Very good. So let's see what we have. There is that part. Very nice. Let's go to a top view, because we have to work on the curve. The next thing that's maybe good to know, these material thicknesses we want to be the same too. So where do we start? Outside, on the inside. We want to offset it, so we grow it, which means we want to start working on the inside. Also here, before we continue, one line. Let's make sure this is snapped to the grid, then we lock it. And oh, do my eagles I see, I did not move this correctly. Let's move this one tick more up. There, perfect. Now this is good. Nicely centered. And this is an arc or spline, so I can use the mirror command there. And the control point is good. So 1, 2. Can I get this shape just with a 3 point? Yes, I can. 1, 2. And then the same 1 and 2. I could, by the way, instead of drawing this, see, I just did an undo. This I make symmetrical, and then I simply mirror this over. Okay. Now I did not, for these two curves, add the symmetry constraints, because I drew them already exactly the way how I need them. This here is good, so I can specify this a little bit to there. Nice, and now we do an offset. When we do select the loop, it's still only making 1, because the transition between these two parts is not smooth. So here we do a 5, 2 and a 5. Very nice. And the last element, I draw a line to there, and then this point I want to lock. I don't want this to move. I can make this horizontal and just keep the line there. Here again, I lock this and just draw a line out, make it horizontal. Because this way, see these lines, they just overlap. That's okay. They don't need to be end to end, but because they're closed, they create this this closed surface for me. So what I can do now is the following. With a pencil, I select this filled surface and drag out an extrusion. Select the front. You see now that for the thickness, it actually gives me from this to there is 14. When I now select this face, it says from there to there it's 14. And I can select 14 and override it with 20. So I just make it bigger. Very good. And now select this filled area. We drag it up, and instead of cutting through it, what we will do is we will select intersect. And let's hide actually these images. And there you see what we have. Very good. What I do not like is right there, this edge and this edge. They're kind of sharp. So what happens if we fillet them? So maybe a 6. Let's say this is where my face is, so we give this a 10. Good. Now we can do the same here. Nice. So that looks actually a lot more comfortable, and we will do the same here. So the correct movement, let's do a 10 too. So it's a little bit bigger and a little bit tighter. So why did I fillet these edges? Well, first for comfort, but also this edge is now tangent better to this edge, and I can select these edges and fillet those two later. But now we see this happened there, so it didn't really run perfectly through it. So what I will do instead, in case this happens, I undid all my steps. I select this, extrude it up again, and then I simply say new body. And on this new body, I will select these complete long edges and fillet them at once. Okay, good. The main reason why I do this is now when we do the intersection, I have nice and clean geometry. Before I had kind of like a faceted geometry, and I forced the modeling kernel to understand what I want. This way I have a little bit more control. Now instead of the dragging up, we can go to tools and then go to intersect and say this one intersect with this one. And there, very good. Now if we select this, maybe my fillet is actually the way how I built this running into it. Okay, it should only be a small fillet anyway. So 1. So what's happening there is, just so you understand, this surface is tangent now to this, and then will be tangent to that. And it looked a little bit awkward, but technically speaking that was correct. Okay, so here we can, oh, not chamfer, that was the wrong direction. Just pull down and 1 millimeter. Okay, nice. Very good. So how do we do the temple now? I want my temple first to continue along these edges, be aligned along this edge, and be flush later also to that surface. This here is a flat surface. If I look at the top, you can even see it's horizontal. I did this on purpose. So I can, with the pencil, select the face, and then with a finger double tap it, and it then realigns the construction grid right onto that face. See, that's the reason why I kept also the drawing at the center, because I'm not drawing on it. And I would like now to add my sketch and be perfectly flush to these edges. And it's very easy to do. I can start drawing somewhere and guide my line to these edges. You see it snaps to it. I only need to do this one time. And there you see it already, what we have. And there. Then I snap to the top and bottom point. This should be horizontal, this should be horizontal. These points are locked, so they don't change. Now I can go ahead, because they're horizontal, simply reposition these points where I need them. This is a line, and this is a line. These lines I do not want to rotate, so I select both and lock them. With the control curve, click one point, midpoint, corner point, and back. And here we make this tangent. This we make tangent. So here we only have one point. Before I drew always 2 points for a corner, but because we make this line tangent to this line, I only need this 1 point. So this tangent constraint, for those who are not familiar with it, see, I can move this left and right, but it runs tangent to this line and makes sure that this curve nicely terminates into this line. And then with this point here in between, I have a little bit more ability to sculpt the way how I want this transition to look. Good. 1, 2. So I think also here we can go ahead just with a curve of 3 points. U, tangent, U and U, tangent, and then can bring this in a little bit closer in. Very nice. And when I move this one up or down, see, it doesn't work because this point is tangent to this and to this line. So pretty awesome. So all I need or can do now is simply play with how this arc works. Okay, so here it is a little bit more complicated. I need 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Because this is tangent, this is tangent. And then with this point, there I sculpt all the stuff in between. Now I see this is too high, this goes too far in. I can unlock this point and just simply drag this down a little bit. The nice thing is in Shaper, when you have guides and guides on selection, etc. turned on, you see there are currently 2 like vertical horizontal lines. And when I drag this point, there you can see they're still at an angle at the violet line. That is actually the previous edge, and I'm sliding this point along this edge, so I'm not changing the rotation or angle of that line. It's a pretty awesome tool. And here now I'm just massaging this till I get the shape I'm looking for. Very good. There we are. Nice. So that's the side view. That's good. We have to do the top view now too. Let's go back to top view. This side view I would like to hide for the moment. And was this one? Yeah. Okay. So my original sketch here, I do not want to modify. So this point I will lock to. This I will select and lock. So I can draw stuff onto it. With onto it I mean like this. And then I can move this point, but I'm not adjusting that original curve. By having the whole curve selected and click lock, you see also all the control points were locked. So that's pretty good. Instead of making just a straight temple, the way how I drew it, I want this one go straight and then arc out a little bit to be more contouring actually the skull. So this means 1, 2, and then whoops. So the control curve 1, 2. I need 2 points or 3 in a line to make a line, and I can go up and go down. You always want to try to get your details with as least amount of points as possible. because the more points you have, the more work you will have to manipulate everything, and the more points you have, the higher the chance you also introduce a little bit of chaos into it, or unevenness with the curves. And here I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Also the distance is nice and even between these points, so the flow of this curve is really good. Okay, so let's offset this by 5. Very good. Now, because this first section here is straight, I can simply select this one, move it over, and then snap it. So even this and this and this, the distance is the same. But here I would like to adjust this. So this goes to there. So there I'm overriding the shape now a little bit, because I'm making the temple there somewhat thinner. And let's close this just with a line. But I would like this to be kind of like nearly more 90 degrees. 93, okay. Maybe turn the grid off. That sometimes can actually be very helpful when you then want to gently adjust lines. So it's 98. Okay, so I have to even bring it to there. 92, 91. Oh, pretty close. Okay. Very good. So, what's the next step? I will turn back this sketch, rotate around, and I will select this, extrude this out nicely, both sides. So I will build it, very good. And then I will select this and run this through. Select intersect, and there's my temple. And you see, this way you created also a temple that is arced. Very good. Let's take a look at the bodies, where we are right now. So we have a gap here. So what do? It's not very difficult. We can simply select this face, extend it a little bit, and then we go back to there. Let's extend it just into it. Then we will go to tools and say subtract. From this one, I would like this to be removed, and turn on, in this case, keep original, which means the second object, which is my tool, that will cut, will remain instead of being consumed. And there we are. Now we have this one perfectly flush. I added some fillets here before. I highly suggest to not do any fillets at this point. We will continue working, and then when we're done, then we add all the fillets. The main reason for that is fillets are more a decorative element, and in all CAD programs, fillets can slow down your design. The more fillets you have, the more it will take to process everything. As a quick check, let's do a mirror. So this whole object, so I double tapped it, next along this line, make a copy. Very good. So there we are. That's good. But let's go back. It's this point now, it's time to look into our Hinge system. Before I continue, I will turn all this off, and I will turn the sketches off, because most of our design is kind of like blocked out. That's very good. And now I want to import that joint system. I have this one saved on my iPad. So I go import files, there is my Hinge Assembly. And there we are. To give you a quick moment or understanding how this assembly works, we have everything that goes into the front frame, we have everything that goes into the side frame, and this model here also has the body that needs to be cut out of the temple, so this whole thing could slide into it. Oops, I will turn on my layers, swipe to the left. I will rename this Hinge, and I will name this one front, and that is temple. Very good. The reason why I opened the folder structure is just to show you how we can rename things, but also now I want to move all these objects and put them into that corner. So I can go to transform, move, and then I select with the pencil the hinge group. That is actually kind of like a group or a folder, and you see all those are selected, so I can move them all at once. What is actually pretty cool, so let me do this, there it is, that is the cut part. So if I go transform and then select this group, even objects which are hidden are actually selected and will be moved. So I can bring this one up, navigate my view a little bit, go to there and there. Now I have to rotate this one this way, say 90 degrees, then there 90 degrees. I will go to a front view. Very good. I can move this one down, kind of like center it. Then we bring this one in. Oh, that was too far. Bring this closer, and now I sink this one in there, and I sink this one in there. Go directly into a top view because I have to be more specific now. And I will move this rotation to this corner point, and yeah, I'll keep it this way. Okay, very good. I'm actually curious if we can just there, so one. Then if I tap the one, I can overwrite this with a smaller value. Okay, very good. And because everything was rotated, you see also that the 3D widget is rotated. So now I move this, oops, I could move the whole object at this custom angle and sink it in a little bit more. How does this look? Everything there seems fine. Very good. Maybe it's reposition it there. Okay, good. Maybe one tick more out. Okay, very good. So this all looks pretty good. We can go back to the hinge, show this object, and now it's time to manipulate and cut all the holes. So we go to Tools and Subtract from this one. I would like this form to be cut out, and there I see we have to first actually sink in our hinge one tick further. So transform the hinge just a little bit more further. There, that is better. Okay. Subtract, you remove this one. There, see, there we have that gap. Very good. I should have moved this even one tab further because we're getting slow on time. Let's do it correctly. This is only a quick fix. Maybe turn this one off. There, this is actually easier to see. Or what we also could do instead, because that is a simple design. Here, we'll do this, move this back. Okay, and I simply will select this face and move it. There, and just extended this tool that cuts the hole. So U minus this one. Very good. So you see, even the imported CAD model can be further manipulated. You're not stuck with it. So that's all very good. This we have to cut out of the front part. So tools, subtract this one. Note, select the correct object. There we want, however, to keep this plug because that actually is being jammed into it. But no, this side we don't have. So we will actually later make a whole copy of everything, and then we will cut it out there again. So that's maybe something we can do right now. Go transform, mirror. We select that whole assembly for the hinge. Click next, copy, that is correct. I need to see my line. Where's that sketch? There it is. Very good. And we'll do the same. And keep the original. So that is done. Very good. Now we can go ahead and at this point finish our design by adding all the missing fillets. You saw I only select also certain edges. You don't have to select the whole loop, which is actually really nice. That was an error because I went over 1 millimeter, but 1 millimeter is what I only wanted to have anyway. Here and here we can round this. 1 millimeter, very good. There and there. 1 millimeter. You see, by selecting this one edge, and all these edges are tangent, it runs the fillet to the other side. And we can do this goes around and around to a 1 millimeter there, and this edge and this edge I would like to round to. So I swipe quickly on that handle and I will make this a 0.5. That looks good. Let's do the same then here. You see now it's taking a little bit more time. This is also a very organic object, which is why the filleting takes more time to compute. So keep that in mind. And that's why you should do these fillets at the end. Now pretty much everything is done, so we can make a copy of the other temple there. Copy. I need to see that sketch again. There. Very good. Okay. So now we created a pretty well-fitting frame out of just one material. So this could be 3D printed, etc. Based on what type of glasses we create, we could also cut in the groove for it. we have 5 minutes left before time is over, so I don't have time to show the steps, but let me go to here and then talk about a little bit what I did, so you have an understanding of how I got to this version. There are two interesting elements here. First, you see I have multiple colors. I was just experimenting. Well, if this is a commercial frame, maybe the insides should be blue, green, various colors. So the way how I did this, let me show the sketch. See, I have exactly the same set of sketches. But for the temple, I then at one point offset another line there. And I had a temple there, and then a complete temple. I selected this and, for example, brought this over, and then it intersected, and the end result then was only for example, one part. Then I hit it, brought in the other temple, so the copy of it, and then instead of cutting the outside, then I cut the inside. So by making from this one temple 2 copies, cutting each side up differently, I was able then to create 2 halves. And I did the same also here. I had the whole frame, I extruded the front part out, cut it, and then I shot the full copy of the front frame, and then I cut the back part out. Also here, just as a note, so I have here a sharp edge, but here I have a fillet. But when I click it, it tells me it's 11 millimeters, so these 2 edges I simply need to fillet to 11, and then if I run this up, I get exactly the fitting that, as you can see, the black and the blue part completely touch each other. I also created an axis right there. And there was an interesting trick to create that axis. Yeah, there it is. So let's actually rebuild this one here. We can go add construction axis and then say through a cylinder or cone. But there I have one. Oh, okay. Last time I clicked, that didn't work. No, now he works too. Maybe I did something wrong. Okay, and this way we can just position then an axis right in there. In case something like this doesn't necessarily work, we can also do a simple workaround. If, for example, that's not a perfect circle. So on the sketch, I would like to project this profile of that arc. So here, check this out. So you go Tools, Project, select this ring, next, select the sketch, done, there's our ring. Now this ring I could extrude up and then add an axis through there, and this axis via the move command or transform first, I can scale and just then move up to where I need it. So super easy. That's the way how I did this, and that then helps when we go to move and we go to bodies and hinge left. Is it that one? Yep. So this one and this one. Then I can change this to where the axis is and rotate this whole thing. So we can prototype how the mechanical joints, etc., for example, work. So not too complicated. The last thing I quickly want to show you too how I did this. As you can see, this is the part we built too, but we can also have this with a smaller band or with a bigger band. So the bridge along your nose has a little bit more side material. So how could I build this? This is actually pretty simple. All I need to do, however, is add more sketches. And there, and there. Okay, so these others I all hide. Okay, good. The way how I did this, to create all these sketches, I simply selected the sketches I needed, copy. And you see, in this way I just move them up and down and I create more copies. And I could even select this and move it a little bit there and adjust it. So this is what I did right there. You see that this actually arcs out a little bit more, and by how far this goes towards your face, we start bending this more. And then to create that design, I will just extrude this to the bottom. This won't look 100% the same, but you will get the meaning. So straight to straight, that's a basic loft, and then from there to the adjusted and back to the original version. And there you can see how we create then these edges which are nicely arced. And again, with the fillets we could round those. Okay, so let me undo all these steps. And that is essentially how then I created these different nose parts. And by having the split into the plastic black front and then the color ones, it's very easy to simply show different variations. So another good application for why to use the file browser and then just make different variations. Okay, that I think sums up everything what I wanted to show today.